So we begin with our two blessings. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam ha'oneh be'etz hara. Praise to you, Lord our God, ruler of the universe, who answers us in our time of crisis. Hayom mea v'chamisha yomim l'seger. Today is the 105th day in our quarantine. Baruch atah Adonai melech haolam asher kedishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Praise you, Lord our God, ruler of the universe, who commands us to busy ourselves with the study of Torah. So welcome back. We're here again. Now we're again with a new parsha, Parshat Chukat, and it's been a little time working on this particular one. It was decided, not last week's parsha, but the parsha before, because of the incident of the spies, because the people had lost faith in how they were going to conquer the land. They just wanted to go back to Egypt and forget all about this conquering the land business. The spies had completely demoralized them. So it was determined that they would not enter the land. They didn't want to go in. They wouldn't have to. They would die in the wilderness, and their children would be the ones who would inherit the land. So, in fact, there were only 4 people who were supposed to make it to the land. That would be Caleb and Yoshua, the 2 spies who maintained that it was still possible to conquer the land. And, of course, Moses and Aaron, the leadership. But in this week's parsha, Moses and Aaron lose their right to enter into the promised land. And maybe it seems unfair, and I mean, perhaps we'll talk about that as the week goes by. But that's the reality of it. Moses and Aaron were supposed to talk to this rock. They were supposed to give some water. It didn't happen, and therefore God punishes them by telling them they're going to die in the wilderness along with everybody else. And in fact, in this week's parsha, both Miriam and Aaron will both die in the wilderness. And Aaron's son Eliezer will become high priest in his stead. All leaders must die. That is just the nature of humanity. Nobody gets to keep their leaders forever. It may not seem fair sometimes, but nothing is forever. And eventually the old must always make way for the new. People mourn Aaron some 30 days. They will mourn Moses for 30 days when he dies at the end of the book of Deuteronomy. But this is the thing about transitions and leadership, that when a new leader comes in, when a leader retires and goes to the side, the new leader comes in, the leadership is never going to be the same. Sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes that's what the people are looking for, and someone new to give them something new. But the new leader brings in new ideas, but there's also this whole thing that a new leader might be the kind of person that is necessary in order to reflect new times, new situations that the old leader never came across at all. One of the interesting things I always like to see about changes in leadership of football coaches in the National Football League is that as some of these head coaches, as they get older, are not able to adapt to the new types of football that is being played, the new moves that are around, the new plays that are available, the changes in the game have made certain things passe and other things much more efficient in the way the game is played. So, yeah, I mean, sometimes the change in leadership really can reflect the new times. And there's sometimes, the old leaders just can't deal with those kinds of changes. They're just stuck. And the new reality just doesn't seem to make any sense to them. Moses, when he was chosen to be leader of the Jewish people, was really the only Jew in the whole world who understood what freedom was all about. He was the perfect person to get the people of Israel out of Egypt. But we see in this week's parsha, because of his ongoing issues with his temper, that he may not be the leader that will help the people of Israel conquer the promised land and make their home there. And Joshua is a general. Joshua has led the people in battle. Joshua understands the way these kinds of wars or conquests operate, and he becomes sort of the natural general as Moses' leadership comes to an end. And you can also do the same thing. You can apply it to later prophets, to Elijah. Elijah was this amazing prophet, did huge miracles, really impressed upon the people of Israel, the entire country, about the importance that God, their worship of God, even was able to speak up to kings, and was able to say what needed to be said to power. He was an amazing, amazing prophet. And yet, as the situation changed, as the people needed something different in terms of their coming to an understanding of what God could do for them, Elijah had to be retired, and he was sent in a fiery chariot up into heaven. And Elisha, the person who is chosen to succeed him, is a whole different kind of prophet, not speaking to kings, but doing the kinds of little miracles all over the land that really make people believe that God cares about them on an individual basis. These are the kinds of things that Elisha needed to do in order to impress upon the people the importance that God could play in their lives. In the end, it's not a matter of new leaders or old leaders, young leaders or old leaders. All that stuff really doesn't matter. The issue is, can a leader in any situation be flexible? Can this leader understand that there must be constant learning in order to upgrade leadership abilities, that you can't just sit back and do the things that you did before. You can't just rest on your laurels. You can't do old tricks in new situations, because it's never going to work. The leader needs new ways. There's going to be changes in technology. There's going to be sociological changes. All kinds of issues are going to be facing leadership, whether it be to a congregation, whether it be to a country, whether it be to an entire people. It is too easy for a leader sometimes to fall back on old ways and say, no, this is the way I've always done it. It's worked for me for now. I'm going to stay with it. And resting on old ideas will never, ever be the way for people to find their way forward. It's important that leadership be forward-looking and not looking back.